I do want to say just thank you again for all the work that you guys do. And I was reminded of the scripture today, whatever you do, do it heartily. And you guys and gals do that, and thank you so much. Let's pray together. Father, the Word of God is always true, and it teaches us, Lord, in institutions, Lord, even the family. Lord, we think about that, the church, and then the government. And so tonight, as I stand here, I want to pray that you would bless each of these men, these ladies, and Lord, just help them to get through all the business they need to take care of. I do want to thank you for providing for us a great city in Monroe, and thank you for all the good things that are taking place. And thank you, Lord, for the fact that even on a Sunday we can come together and worship, and whatever day or night of the week. And Lord, we know that we have folks who are supporting us as a part of the religious community. And also, Lord, we thank you for all the public safety folks. You're good to us tonight. Bless them now. We love you, and we thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Tommy Fountain is the pastor at 1025 Church, where they are always alive at 1025. And I believe he has a big something coming up on Sunday. What's going on Sunday? And it would... like this? After 6, 7, I had enough of that during the Christmas parade. I think I'm done with that for now. Thank you all for being here. I'll call this meeting to order. It is August 11th, 2026, officially at 6 o'clock. My daughter is landing in Atlanta in the next few minutes, so I'm waiting to see if the Eagle has landed. So I might be on edge a little bit while we go through the first part of the meeting. And if you hear me say, yes, well, that's probably it. If you would, please stand with me and say the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Now let the record reflect that all members of council are present, and I believe Ms. Brown was going to be on the phone. Adrienne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, glad you're here. And you're in Chicago, right?
Yes, I am.
Have a great trip. I need a...
There's a tornado watch this warning this morning, so, but we're okay.
But it was just this morning, not now, right?
Not now.
Good.
Just this morning.
All right, well, stay safe. And I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. I need a motion for the approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Give that one to Ms. Crawford. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Tonight's consent agenda would be the June minutes of the DDA, the CVB, the Planning Commission, and the Historic Preservation Commission, and City Council minutes and City Council retreat minutes from July. I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Is there a second?
Second.
You, Ms. Sams? Yes. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to public comment, I have one signed up. Mr. Preston, would you like to come forward, please? You have 5 minutes, and I'm going to hold you to it.
I do have bigger fish to fry tonight than this. Hello, my name is Charles Preston. I'm here to just really talk briefly about what I think is an unintended consequence of the recent water ordinance water fee rate hike. I'll kind of tell you how I discovered this, and then I'll tell you the solution that I think that hopefully the city council will come to. So I noticed recently or months back, that our water, fire water line, main line that runs next to the building that we tap into in case the sprinkler systems are needed, the fee went from $27.50 to $220.50 a month. And so reaching out to the city, we kind of went back and forth. Our guys ended up looking to see if we could lower the sort of easiest way to explain it is there's a 4-inch water main line that comes into the building. The previous use of our building was an industrial building. Therefore, it did need a 4-inch main line coming into the building because with chemicals and other things, you need to have an intense amount of water to put that out. Well, we, after refurbishing the building and having a reuse for it, we don't need the 4-inch main that comes in. We just need a 1-inch line. And so going back, we tried to get our company to try and lower that so that we could fall out of that box that we're now put in for the fire line, discovering that there's not enough footage to break that down and to get us down, because you got to go to 4 to 2 to 1 and then come into the building. And our current systems don't allow that anyway. So where I come back to the city is that I'm not against the increase in the fee at all. I understand that they have not been increased for years. However, we fall, because of the building, the pre-existing use of the building, we fall under a boxed fee that is way more for a use that we do not even need. So what I'm asking the council is just, would you get a little bit of time to go back and talk about giving the administration maybe some flexibility on buildings such as ours, which will hopefully, as other industries in town, we don't want them to leave, but if they leave and big box spaces can be reused for another purpose, the future tenants are not, or owners of the property are not harmed by this certain setup of the water line fee currently, the fire line fee currently, and allow flexibility for administration to go, hey, you know what, yes, the previous use of that building, they needed that, and so we need to charge them for that amount, but not for uses like ours and future uses for other buildings in the future around Monroe.
So what was the difference again in the
It went from $27.50 a month to $222.50 a month, roughly a $2,000 increase for the year. So that's,
And going from that 1 to 4, I'm just trying to think that your water usage is probably just keeping it pressurized throughout the year.
that's all the fire line fee is. And, you know, there's probably the water department in here can chime in on that or talk more in detail about that. But that's kind of the gist of it, is that we don't need a 4-inch line. And so unfortunately for us, the equipment was already pre-existing that we piggybacked. And therefore now we would never build it that way if we were building it from scratch. So that's the benefit of redoing a building in town. You don't have to build it straight from the bottom up. So.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions for Charles? Maybe something for Chief Dykes or Logan? Why don't we discuss this further, and Logan will be your point.
Okay.
All right, man.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Charles. Moving to the public presentation, I have a few. Let's start with David Dickinson. This is from the Carl Vinson Institute of Government and the Georgia Municipal Association, certifying that David Dickinson has successfully completed the requirements for the Certificate of Achievement through the Harold F. Holtz Municipal Training Institute from January 25th. And David, I don't really know how many hours you had. Sherry was going to look that up for me, and we talked today, and I didn't get it. But you've been taking classes since you were mayor, so
It only took me 25 years.
probably a lot more than most of us. So, pass that. And the other one, Adrian, I'll leave at your desk, is a certificate of recognition for the maximum number of hours that she could take with GMA since she's been on council. And Julie Sams already picked hers up, but it was the same one. And I appreciate your learning how to better serve our citizens and fellow Georgians. Georgia Municipal and the University of Georgia Carl Vinson Institute, probably one of the top leadership programs in the country, and have worked together very well putting that together. Stacy Jones, who was formerly in our downtown events department, has since risen through the ranks, and she's now the Vice President of Community Service and Public Outreach at the University of Georgia, who is in charge of Carl Vinson Institute. So I really appreciate all the work that she's done putting together that whole program. So way to go, Julie, way to go, David, and way to go, Adrian. Now I need to move to our city administrator report, Mr. Probst.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to bring it up one more time. The traffic light permit at SR 78 and 11 right up here at the bridge has finally been approved by the Atlanta GDOT office. So that's good. So we kicked off the engineering today with Keck and Wood to go ahead and start that. So the next steps there, I don't have an exact timeline. It should go fairly quickly. It's pretty simple design. It'll That design will then be sent back to the District 1 office for approval, and then we'll put it out for bid. The bidding should be a lot easier since it's a total local letting project. So we'll get that rolling. Wanted to talk about the wastewater treatment plant. We have been working with the engineers, Rodney and his staff, all doing a great job. This is going to be a world-class facility down at Jacks Creek. We are looking at bids coming back October 1st. So those are out right now, and the bonding thereof the second week of October. So that's finally moving along at a pretty good clip right now. So we have it all calendared up. Just wanted to note that we have 2 more properties that are going to be activated in the greater downtown area. I've been working with the Development Authority. We have a small committee that's been going over their RFPs that have been returned for the old USDA building on West Spring Street, also known as the Courthouse Annex 3, I believe, and the old historic jail back there off Millage Avenue. So we're excited to get those back on the street once we get that approved with the County Development Authority. 2027 budget kickoff here is starting about now. Beth has been doing a great job getting everything put together. This is a very long, thorough process that ends in December, as you know, for the next year. So it's long because we go through everything, every line item down to a T, every expenditure. And we'll continue to hold the line, especially since we just lowered taxes even more last week. So we hear you loud and clear. We're going to maintain some good fiscal acumen there. And lastly, I just kind of want to give a real shout out to our hardworking men and women in this city. They're knocking out just an incredible amount of projects, truck fires, downtown policing, policing in general, reading meters, you name it, customer service. Everybody is just firing on all cylinders, doing a wonderful job, and especially those working out in the heat. They're exceptional, and so I just want to thank everybody, especially our trash guys out there. They're in it all day, rain, shine, thunderstorms, they're getting it. So thanks to all.
Thank you, Logan. Any questions, Mr. Probst? Mr. Bailey?
And the sad part is, as hot as it is, our splash pad is still broken. While we wait on parts, what was the storm, July 10th, I believe it was, on a Friday, that we had the downburst come across Alcovey, and that whole area hit the golf course and actually got our splash pad controls. So working to try to get that fixed. Our LMIG season, milling kicked off today on Cloverdale Drive and Arcadia Court, and that will continue over the next several weeks with milling, and then shortly thereafter the county will follow up with the repave of everything. Just for a list of streets, posted them on social media over the last couple of weeks. It's Union Street, North Hammond Drive, 8th Street, Red Oak Court, Oakwood Lane, White Oak Drive, and the aforementioned Cloverdale Drive and Arcadia Court. Our TAP grant projects, we had the North Broad Highland Lumpkin project that we have. We met with engineers and Omshiv, our contractor, today to essentially sign off on the one side of Lumpkin. We will now move to the other side. We'll have some utility relocations, and then hopefully by the time that's done, they should be done on the North Broad side that they're coming down, and then jump back over to Lumpkin and knock that out. And then I've got 2 items later on the agenda for the other TAP grant projects that we have. Our downtown stakeholders event was July 28th at the Wayfair. It was a very well attended event. It was standing room only, which was the intent of it. Couple of people spoke. It was just a fun event to recognize our downtown, our business owners, our different boards and whatnot. So. The only other thing I've got, farm-to-table tickets are on sale. That's September 13th, so I think 150 tickets will be out there, so go ahead and get them, because last year we were at 170, I believe, on sales. So would love to see you guys there, and I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions for Chris? Thank you. Moving to new business, public hearing, conditional use 4451. Brad, do we want to do 4451 and 4502 together?
Yes, sir. If I could present items number 7 and 8 together on your agenda. So the request before you on both of those items is conditional use 4451 and hardship variance number 4502. The conditional use is a convenience store with fuel pumps, the fuel pumps being the accessory use to a convenience store. The hardship variance request is to allow fuel pumps in the front yard of a building. Moving on. So this one has been kind of on a hiatus from the Planning Commission to you guys. There's typically a process where we go from Planning Commission to Council. These two applications went to the Planning Commission back in April, and the conditional use both and the hardship variance were at the April Planning Commission. So there's been a little bit of a delay. There was a plan presented to the Planning Commission at that time, and this is the plan that was presented to them. It showed fuel pumps in the front and a 6,500 square foot convenience store in the middle of the site. Issue was there was a private access easement that hadn't been accounted for in their plan, so staff and had taken a look at that with the applicant. The applicant had withdrawn that plan basically to go back and revise their proposed plan. We had recommended 3 conditions at that time, but we had recommended denial of the hardship variance. But the Planning Commission at the time in April had recommended denial to City Council for both the conditional use and hardship variance for the plan that I just had on the screen. So during the time of April, from April to now, they had asked for a tabling in May to not come to your City Council meeting. That was by the applicant, and they were going through a revision to their plan. We did receive a plan just prior to the June meeting, but there was not enough time for staff to review that, so there was another tabling. And then last month, we had a tabling that pushed it to this meeting here. So there has been a revised plan submitted for the requests, and that is before you this evening for both the hardship variance and the conditional use. So the plan that is on the screen before you is the conditional use plan that has been submitted. It has rearranged basically portions of the site. The conditional use plan and the hardship variance plan are the same. So some elements of that plan, you have the fuel pumps. There are a total of 16 fuel stations. They are on the side of the building itself. The convenience store building is basically in the center of the site, and you can see the circulation around the building in gray. That's parking and access drives. And there's 2 entrance points, one coming from the private access drive, which is adjacent to Bojangles, and then one new one that would be constructed coming off of Highway 11. And we've analyzed this plan and taken a look at a few issues there. But moving on, they've proposed some architecture. It's a standard-looking quick trip store. I believe it's a newer generation store that they're proposing. I believe they call it their Gen 4 building is what they call it, but it's a 6,445 square foot building. Pretty standard-looking architecture with brick and architectural metals and things of that nature. So we've taken a look at their plan, though, and had to notice some issues that are basically preventing from compliance. So just jumping into those details, they do have a few pumps still in front of the building, so they've left their hardship variance in play, and I'll discuss that in a second. Some other issues were there's a pretty wide drive in the front of the building there that's 30 feet wide, and the building is still not quite where it needs to be in compliance with our corridor design overlay district. That's 76 and some change basically from the right-of-way. Look at that a little closer. That 30 foot of pavement width, it's a pretty girthy driveway. I can put 3 automobiles between one curb to the next between the parking spaces. Those are scaled cars that you see on the screen before you. So that is actually pushing the building further away than it is actually necessary. The maximum distance from the right-of-way for a building in the corridor is 75 feet. If this driveway width was reduced, you could push the building forward, allowing the building to be closer to the right-of-way and meet the 75-foot requirement. Typically, our drives that we require of 24 feet and 18-foot parking spaces would allow for a 42-foot pavement width. So this is a plan that will be in full compliance. I've taken the same elements of their proposed plan and shifted them slightly. The proposed fuel pumps are now in line with the building. The building has been shifted forward ever so slightly, and the drive in front of the building has been minimized ever so slightly. This is what it looks like when you zoom in. The drive in front of the building now is only 24 feet wide, and it clearly accommodates 2 automobiles. The pumps have been shifted back ever so slightly, and this would fully comply with the plan with no need for any hardship variances or any other variances of any kind. So the pumps are now in line with the side of the building at a 90-degree angle. The 24-foot pavement width is more than adequate to handle 2 automobiles. This would allow for a 42-foot pavement max, which meets your corridor design overlay requirements. 18-foot pavement space, 18-foot pavement width for your parking spaces, and then a 24-foot drive aisle, and then a 70-foot wide max building distance from the right-of-way. Full compliance, it's a slight shift in the plan dimensions. Full compliance, proposed. Ever so slight shifts are necessary. You get full compliance, proposed. The plan needs a slight tweak. You can see the differences between the two. Proposed, full compliance. Slight modifications. So there's an alternative that could be done. I've scrambled some of the elements on the plan, taken the exact dimensions and turned the building sideways into the corner and placed the pumps closer to the roadway. So really the rule of thumb here is you take the building, you move it closer to the road, you can move the pumps closer to the road. So in this case, the pumps are actually where they've proposed them now. They're 53 feet from the road, but they're now sideways. The building is actually closer to the road than they had it before. It's only 35 feet from the right-of-way, but the building's turned sideways. So now the building faces the pumps, which was one of the concerns they had noted in their narrative and one of their safety concerns, that they don't face the pumps. Well, this building will face the pumps. This is just an alternative plan. It's not a requirement, but I just throw that out there because it's the same elements they've shown, meeting both both their concerns and our code requirements. All right, I'm going to jump into the hardship variance really quick to discuss this application. So they are requesting relief from the requirement to place fuel pumps, canopies, and so forth in the side yard. Now, they're only asking for the 2 of those now. The previous request was for all of them. So they've only shifted the 2 that are now in the front yard there. So this is a requirement of Note 9 in Table 4A that prohibits them from being in the front yard. The applicant states now that the topography and the unknown development time frame on the adjacent properties are the basis for requesting the hardship variance. Now, in their application, they did not provide us any evidence, any credible evidence that this is a factor preventing them from compliance. So we didn't have anything to go by. So take a look at the topography. It's pretty boring. It's flat. It's 916 and 904 from one corner to the next. That's flat. So the topography doesn't appear to be an issue. So when we're looking at this corridor here, which is extremely important to the city of Monroe, there is a lot of undeveloped property, but there is a lot of proposed and approved developments in this area. So while the applicant doesn't foresee a lot of proposed developments, we have approved a lot, and a lot that do already meet the Corridor Design Overlay District, and these are our few. There's been a dentist office approved that met the Corridor Design Overlay District that is down south of Tanglewood neighborhood. There's a massive master plan development that was approved 2 years ago that would meet all of our Corridor Design Overlay District, which pushes all the buildings towards the road. There is a proposed package store that is in our office right now that meets all of our Corridor Design Overlay District standards. There is a proposed commercial subdivision that is across the street from this site that also proposes to meet all of our Corridor Design Overlay standards. I've got a Waffle House that meets all of our Corridor Design Overlay standards. We have approved a corridor design project on the opposite corner of that met all of the Corridor Design Overlay standards. So in this portion of our corridor, it's been imperative that all developments have met the CDO standards. So to suggest that there is an unknown factor of what's going to be here is basically not true. So we would like for this proposal to meet those standards. So we put a check there saying we hope that they can meet those standards. Now, there is a property next to it that's not inside the city, but in time it may. That's the only property left inside that portion of the corridor that may be developed. The rest of it's all residential neighborhood to the north. So. And there are some other developments that they have actually in their system. QT is a large corporate gas station, convenience store entity. They have quite a few sites within their system, and they've got quite a few attractive locations within their system, certainly ones that we would have loved to see in our city. This is one located inside the city of Atlanta in a suburban location on Howell Mill Road. It's a building that fronts on the road but actually faces inward to the site. The pumps are within the site internally. It's a very attractive four-sided architectural building. It's a very, very good-looking building. They were not forced to do that. They did that voluntarily. This is a site in Athens. Now, one of the safety concerns that they had mentioned in their hardship variance was they need to see the pumps. This site, it's impossible if you're standing within the store for the cashiers to view the pumps. The building is completely sideways to the pumps.
Sorry, excuse me. Is this one the one on Lexington Road?
This is on Lexington Highway, across from the old
Okay,
Walgreens.
yeah,
I believe it's a beauty supply store now. Gaines School Road is to the right. So the store itself was not required to follow any corridor design standards in Athens. There was no requirement dictated to this site, but the applicant elected in this case to develop the store in this manner. The pumps are on the corner, but the store itself is not facing the pumps in any sort of way. This was just a design of the site that they elected to do, but the pumps are not visible from the cashier's positions if you go inside that store. And another new site in our region here was in Gainesville. It's also similar to what we're basically asking to be done here, was a forward-facing building with the pumps to the side. This is in Gainesville on Jesse Jewell Road. So when it comes to the relief from the requirement to place the fuel canopies in the yard, when you look at your standards for placing hardship variances or allowing them, does the first standard, when it comes to the topography, in this case, they're asking for that's not a situation that exists. Is the application of our ordinance creating an unnecessary hardship? That does not exist. Is there anything unnecessarily peculiar about this property preventing them from compliance? No. And would relief, if granted, cause substantial detriment to the public good? It would, and it would set a precedent that would not be positive for the city, especially considering that all the other previous developments that I had mentioned in the previous slides had all complied with the corridor design overlay requirements. None of those conditions exist. And the secondary standards for granting a hardship variance, all the limitations, is this a condition being created by the applicant? The answer is true. It's being designed that way. It's being self-imposed. Is it a change in approval by a zoning change? A change in conditions by a zoning change or conditional use approval? Not necessarily, but there is a conditional use before you. Does this confer upon the property some special privilege? Yes, it would if you were granting it. Does it permit use of land, buildings, or structures not permitted by right or by conditional use? This is true. And then inconsistent with the construction and design standards with design criteria adopted by the City of Monroe. This is true. Now, item 6 is related to signs, so that's not applicable, but items 1, 3, 4, and 5 are true. So there's not a qualified hardship variance standard here to request. So they're not meeting the requirements for the grant hardship variance in this case. So sticking with the Planning Commission original recommendation, staff in this case sticks with ours too. The recommendation should be denial for that hardship variance. So going back to the conditional use, I didn't mean to jump over that one, but that was necessary to explain what was going on there. So we did recommend approval of the conditional use from a staff perspective. Like I said, Planning Commission did recommend denial, but we recommended approval from the staff perspective. But we did add 7 conditions total, and I can cover those briefly. The first one dealt with the proposed convenience store being not located greater than 75 feet from the right-of-way. This is your corridor design overlay district standards, specifically requiring the building to be closer to the right-of-way to not create a suburban appearance. Basically, things that you'd see on 4-lane highways, something we're trying to avoid along these corridors. Number 2 deals with pavement depth. We're trying to limit the pavement depth so we don't have great expanses of parking lots and between the right-of-way and the buildings. That's a 42-foot pavement depth max. That's in item number 2. And obviously in number 3, this deals with the location of your fuel canopies and pumps. And that deals with note number 9 being complied with. That's a 90-degree angle measurement. Basically, wherever the building goes, we can measure a 90-degree angle, and that would allow for the pump location. So the closer the building gets to the road, the closer the pumps can get to the road. Item number 4, it basically says they have to amend their plan before they go back to Planning Commission for the corridor design overlay district, because this does have to go back to the Planning Commission. This has been in tabling mode also for them as well until this council considers both the hardship variance and the conditional use. The 5th item deals with stormwater management. Let me jump forward to this slide here real quick. This item has not been addressed in our previous concerns. There is a proposed stormwater pond that goes beyond their site, and it goes to the north outside the city limits itself. You can see here on the screen this square blob basically on the left side of the screen. It's a pretty large stormwater pond. I believe they did indicate it was for stormwater management for areas that are going to be greater than the capacity of their actual site. So we're talking about a stormwater pond that's engineering more than what they were preparing for, so possibly a master stormwater pond. The issues that we've identified with that is that it's too close to the residential properties adjacent to it. There is no defined drainage, easement, or otherwise located on that property, so there is some concern there. There's not been any change to that plan, so that pond needs to be pulled away from that property at least 25 feet. And we are also requiring that that outflow be directed towards North Broad Street and not into those properties. There is no defined drainage on those properties. We're also asking that that be done, or the stormwater actually be done on the site itself. If there is no plan to develop these properties in the future, then the stormwater needs to be managed directly on their site. And the third option that they have would be to incorporate it into an overall master plan. Going back to this little slide right here, if this were somehow part of an overall development, because this is a big 15-acre B3 property, there's a proposed an existing mini storage here that has its own stormwater pond, but you see this road here, if this other B3 property were ever developed, there could possibly be some master plan that this site could be tied into, to the north, to the east. So that is what the third option for stormwater is related to. And then finally, this deals with basically all the other non-permittable items they had shown in their plan. This is some things they had related to parking, which we typically deal with at site development when it comes to special exception variances, because they had more parking spaces than they allowed. Number 6 deals with that issue specifically. And then number 7 also deals with them in compliance with those, getting those variances, if I'm not mistaken. That's what that deals with specifically. And that's all that I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Callender. Are there any questions for Brad? Do I have the developer or representative of the developer who'd like to step forward? Yes, thank you. Yes, sir. Your name, please?
My name is Eric Eberhard. I'm an attorney in Athens. I represent regarding their plans.
Thank you, Eric.
Present with me is Brian Mora, who is the project manager for Quick Trip, and seated in the back is the representative of the property owner, Monroe OZ. I'm just going to jump right in, and first of all, want to thank the city and its staff for just the open lines of communication. We're not necessarily in agreement with staff, but we do appreciate that they've communicated with us in a generally open fashion, and that's to be commended for this city. And then tonight, we appreciate the consideration that this council is going to give to the concerns that we have in relation to being able to move forward with this project. So right off the bat, the stormwater issue, I think I'm entitled to say this on behalf of the property owner. We would anticipate that there would be a master plan for the larger tract and that issue would be addressed in conjunction with that. So we don't anticipate that that's a concern. The conditions that staff is asking to place with regard to that. Now, beyond that, we do have real concerns with staff's position on the location of the building, the parking, the pavement, as well as the location of our canopies. In full candor, as you've seen, this project was tabled for several months. The reason it was tabled from Quick Trip's side of things is to allow their internal staffing beyond Brian Moore and the authority he has. The folks up the line of command at Quick Trip to look at what is being asked of Quick Trip for this project and what they can live with. And candidly, we come to the city with what upper management has indicated is what they can live with. And I understand that the city has established rules. That's certainly important. We need to abide by rules where we can, but there are also times where we go beyond that because the explanations make sense. Quick Trip has been in the business of convenience stores for decades, and I'm sure that you will hold the same opinion I do. They're highly respected with what they do. And part of it is that they really look out for the community and the citizens and the people who will come through their stores. And this is where this plan comes from. This plan is designed based upon what their research, what their internal standards have indicated is the approach to take to make sure that they're providing the best service and the best safety for not only their employees, but the folks who will visit this Quick Trip. And I understand staff is looking at things from lines and distances, but from the Quick Trip perspective, from the get-go, the issue has been visibility, and visibility from inside the store. And I can't speak to what went down with the Athens project. All I can talk about is what we're dealing with here. And the internal officials at Quick Trip want to be sure that they have visibility from their cash registers, from their glass, to the gas pumps. And in order to do that, they're asking for you to grant them the variance that's been requested. I know it was mentioned by staff that the topography is not a concern. Well, I think topography goes beyond the grade of the land. It also goes to the surrounding elements, and part of the issue is that essentially on two sides of this project as it currently stands, there is no development. And that is why it's even more critical from an internal standpoint that as much visibility of the canopies exist. And that's why we ask for what we ask for tonight, is that variance to allow two pumps to go beyond the front line of the building. Now, I don't know that Mr. Callender will be able to do it, but if he can go back to his images regarding the pavement where he was showing 3 vehicles and 2 vehicles, I'd like to just touch on that. So if you notice, the one you just had up would be preferred, the one with 2 vehicles. Certainly you can see there that there's clearance. There's no disagreement. But Quick Trip seeks to do a little bit more in providing its customers with safety clearance. And those vehicles are a couple feet apart and still closer to parking. The additional pavement that's asked for is 6 feet. We're asking for 1 foot farther away from the right-of-way in order to allow that little bit of additional safety for the vehicles traveling through this parking lot. We don't believe that it's an extreme ask, but that little bit of distance provides everybody there a little bit more safety in their movements. And that's why we've asked for a 1.7 foot difference to be 76.7 feet away from the right-of-way, and we've asked for the additional pavement, is to allow that little bit more of distance for the safety of everybody. And I think that Quick Trip really looks forward to the opportunity of being in this community, but we want to do it in a way that everybody will be comfortable, pleased, and satisfied that it's been a good investment from both sides and everybody is able to utilize this location in a safe manner. And that's ultimately, I know it's been a matter of a little bit of dispute between us and staff, but safety is a major internal review process for Quick Trip, and that's how we landed where we are.
Do you have any specific numbers that show that one is more or less safe or unsafe than the other? Or is it just this general feeling? Because it sounds like it's just a general feeling.
1,200 stores. It's through our experience through building these over the course of the past 65 to 70 years.
So you have the numbers that show that there's a safety difference between the 6 feet?
Yes, sir.
You gonna get those for me?
Concessions have been made in the past. It's caused issues, and so that's what we.
Okay, well, when you can show me those numbers, that will probably be more than just saying, hey, it's safety, right? Because we can say things like that all the time, but if you're not gonna give us any proof, you're making no sense. All right, go ahead.
Well, I appreciate the interruption because it's really the end of our presentation. Other than questions that we may be asked at this point, we do ask you to allow us to move forward with that conditional use with the adjustments that we've asked for.
Thank you, Eric and Brian, for coming in. Are there any questions for these gentlemen?
Well, on the safety topic, because that has come up a lot, and I can appreciate the desire to be safe. What kind of safety is it that y'all require your employees to look after when it comes to the citizens of any community?
Right. I'll let Brian speak to that.
We find that when our staff has the visibility when it comes to any type of movements that go on the lot, it allows them to give us feedback directly, because a lot of our employees that work in the stores are the ones that have been promoted and have moved on to positions where they're part of our real estate, part of our store development. And so that's been very, very helpful with our feedback as we've changed our designs, as we've tried to move towards an even safer culture as time goes on. And when it comes to the visibility in general, having the pumps where they are, as Eric had mentioned, that we're asking for that concession of 2 of those pumps being in front of the store as opposed to from that point backward. It gives them that full visibility to see all of the interactions without having to rely on security equipment to have that direct line of sight.
Brian, also, it makes them visible to folks at the pumps as well. Is that correct?
Most
So-
definitely,
Like,
especially.
I guess I'm confused on, are we talking about like Quick Trip is sincerely concerned about like pickpockets in the parking lot? Or they're worried
It
about
could
like,
be anything. It could be, I'm
You're
sorry.
no, you're perfectly fine.
No, you're better equipped.
I think it's a really important point because this has been the battle cry of this entire process of the safety, safety, safety. We have a great police force. We have an amazing fire department. We have citizens that are armed to the teeth. So what safety concerns are we actually concerned with?
In customer service, it's been proven time and time again that when people know that they are recognized, when people know that they're seen, it has a tendency to reduce any type of criminal element, so to speak.
Right.
And so when people can see that the store employees inside have a direct line of sight, no one's thinking about, and I shouldn't say that. There are people that would think about where cameras might be located, but the majority of people are looking for human eyes. And so when they can see that the staff inside has a direct line of sight to them, it does have a tendency to deter the type of activities that we're trying to prevent that would occur on the lot.
Plus, it allows the staff for QT to act quicker if something comes up. Law enforcement can't respond until they're aware of it.
Right.
Fire department can't respond until they're aware of it. And having the QT employees provided more visibility allows maybe those few seconds that are necessary for that additional element of safety we all want.
And I will,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, somewhat tongue-in-cheek, I've been to QT many times because it is a great establishment. And it's always impressive that you'll have one person working a register who handles multiple clients at one time inside the store. So I can't see how they could even see outside the window because they are so busy and active all the time in the store.
That's part of the multitasking. It's not just dealing with multiple customers, it's also with that visibility.
Yeah.
Having been former store staff, I can speak to that directly. You are on a swivel the entire time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I have a question as far as it regards these other examples that we've seen of Quick Trips. I mean, the one in Athens is pretty new. I mean, it was only finished recently. So I understand you're saying that over time, you guys have developed a strategy, et cetera, and that the higher-ups are not looking to put this type of store in place. Yet we see examples of pretty recent stores, it seems like, where the same things that we're requesting have been done, and apparently not even as a request from the community. So if you're concerned about our community and how we're trying to preserve it, why is it not easy to meet these standards? And then what are the reasons that these other buildings were allowed to pass?
A lot of the ones that you see that would be, say, flipped in the other direction where the canopy is behind the building, it's because of the development that's behind there. At the moment, and as Eric already pointed out, the goal is to have this entire area developed. But as of right now, it's a wooded area. And so if we go ahead and reverse the way that we would set things up, there'd be very little visibility back there, not allowing our patrons to feel safe, not allowing the citizens of Monroe to feel safe while they're fueling, because they're not near a roadway, they're not near any type of visibility aside from what can be seen on that small little section that's going to be covered by trees all around it on at least 2 of the 4 sides. So that's one of the reasons that we stay away from that sort of thing in an area that hasn't been developed yet.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Mr. Gregory, you spoke to the Athens location, and again, I don't want to act like I know exactly what transpired there, but I did hear a little bit as things were going along. It's my recollection that there were issues with the size of that track that sort of forced a design that you're seeing. meaning that they only had a limited amount of land they could use, and that's all they could do for one reason or another. I don't know exactly beyond that what happened. So that's all I can respond on that.
Well, there are a couple other options that met what we seem to be asking for. What happened there?
Well, again, I think it depends on which one you're referring to. The one that had the pumps over to the side of the building where the canopy was faced long ways instead of vertical like this one is, that one was completely in front, well, not completely in front of the building, but all the pumps that were on the front end of that double stack were actually in front of the building, which would violate the code here. We're only asking for 2 pumps instead of an entire front row.
So, and again, just to follow up on Councilman Bradley's question, the 2 pumps offer complete visibility of the rest of the pumps?
Lowering the pumps down by that amount allows the people on the side of the building, because the glass goes all the way up until that button that's on the side, visibility to the pumps that are in the back. If we move them back that much further, the rear 2 pumps are no longer visible from inside the store.
How many feet's that?
In between the MPDs, we have new measurements in the moment. I don't know that number off the top of my head, so I wouldn't want to fudge it.
I mean, 10 feet?
No, it's more than 10. It has to be able to fit 2 vehicles plus a passage lane in between, so it's
30 feet.
larger than that. Yeah, somewhere in that ballpark.
The materials on the side of the building that will actually be facing the pumps, is that going to be all glass there?
It's glass all the way up until the button that's located on the side. So basically, the last 2 parking spaces would be the ones that is a translucent wall.
So, let's say the checkout counters in the middle of the store, which I think is fairly normal, right?
In our old models, it is. In this Gen 4, which is a brand-new design, the checkout is actually over there along those glass walls, and so they have the complete visibility of the pumps on that side.
So from where they are on this left side of inside the building, they should be able to see all the pumps.
With the MPDs, the first 2 MPDs being at the base of the parking instead of the base of the building, yes.
Mr. Dickinson?
I don't have any questions, but I'll just tell you, like I told you in the meeting, my position's gonna be you either meet our standards or you just don't build it. So, you know.
Mr. Thompson, you were leaning forward.
Well, I mean, I was just going to probably make a comment or two about the safety of what you guys are talking about. And, you know, I'd love to see Quick Trip here. I think it'd be a great addition to that side of town. I do own a grocery store, and we have windows, but not all our parking lot is available. Granted, they're not pumping gas, but they're still outside. You know, I've been in business for 44 years, and I've never had a major catastrophe in my parking lot. It's going to be a whole lot bigger than that, so it means I got a whole lot more people in and out and a whole lot more cars in and out. I'm just not seeing the issue on the concrete of what you guys are bringing out. And also what Mr. Bradley said about your employees working. There's no way they can see the whole store at any time. I mean, you know, so I just don't see where having a gas pump that has to be seen. I mean, you know, most folks roll up the gas pump, use a credit card, pump the gas, and they're gone. So that, to me, that's not really an issue. I mean, in my opinion, I think you guys are just, you know, I know you want the store built the way you want it built, but here again, we got a couple of things that we're asking for. I don't know where the big divide is, especially when some of these stores have been built like the way we're asking for. You know, so it's kind of like, if you guys want to come, we want you here. But we don't need to give up everything that we've spent years and years working on to make our city beautiful to drive downtown from where it starts at to where it ends at. So, you know, I think you guys got something to think about. And, you know, if you want to be in Monroe, which we'd really love to have you, then I think you're going to need to conform to the 3 or 4 things that we're asking for. Stormwater, it seems like there was 4 or 5 issues with stormwater, and I think that would be between you guys and the property owner there. And I think he's drawing up a master plan, so you said that's not a big deal. I mean, I only really see maybe 3 issues, I may be wrong, that minor issues that, you know, either you want to come or you don't. And I support you guys, but we're looking out for the city also.
Ms. Crawford?
My major concern is the congestion and the neighbors. They're very upset. It's already hard to get out over there, get on Highway 11. Like, I do like Quick Trip, but that's my major concern with the congestion and the safety is getting out on the highway.
Ms. Malcolm?
Well, you know, we've got a 15-acre parcel, Zone B3, is that right, B3?
That's correct.
And something's going to come there. And I'd rather, you know, I'd love to see you come. But I've been a huge proponent from the start of our commercial district overlay that we require everyone to conform. And once you allow one person variances and hardships, that commercial corridor overlay is no longer valid. Everybody's gonna want a condition and a hardship and whatever to conform to their use. And so I'm gonna stand behind what Brad is recommending, and would ask that you be able to alter your plan to conform to our plan. And one thing I do want to say is, when I'm in convenience stores across the state, there's so many posters in the windows advertising whatever that I'm not even sure they can see out if you did have the clearance and the visibility because of all that advertisement that's posted in the windows.
Before, I've got two more questions, but before I do those, Julie, Ross, Tyler, do you have anything else?
I wanted to kind of piggyback off of Lee, that I think it's important for y'all and for us to be reminded of, and everybody in the audience, that like, for decades, I feel like Monroe was allowed just haphazard building throughout the whole city. And for about a decade, this council and staff has been working extremely hard to not become Gwinnett County, right? Because that is the single comment that I've heard hands down to anything else. And so I think that it is important to hold the line when it comes to these sort of things. One thing was mentioned earlier, that this is, the plan that y'all put forth is the best plan that the executives could live with. And, you know, not to be a smart aleck, but none of them live here. And this is something that we all have to live with. And so for us, it is very important. I love QT. I stop at a QT any chance I get because we don't have one. But I just don't know if I love QT more than I love the community that we are building and developing. And so that for me, you know, I'm kind of with a couple other folks that I want to see you here, but I don't feel like what we're asking is anything egregious. I mean, we're talking about feet and cents, and for a multi-billion-dollar company, I'm assuming, that doesn't seem terribly unfeasible. So that'd be my only comment, Mayor.
Thank you. Julie, Tyler. Okay, I did have two more questions. How many cameras do you have on site?
It does vary based on the design of the site itself, so I wouldn't be able to quote a number, but we do have coverage of the entire site.
Okay, and generally you have one or two under every canopy?
Basically, we have the coverage of all of that.
Oh, okay. That was one. The other thing, this I guess would go to Brad. If they're concerned about what's going on around them, should we just have the whole site master planned and do it whenever they're ready?
I don't know that you can actually request this conditional use to go through a rezone. I don't.
No, I mean, I'm just trying to, making it easier for them. I mean, if they're
I mean,
concerned about what's
ultimately, at this property, like, I think Ms. Malcolm did mention that I mean, I would fully anticipate there be development soon thereafter coming to this property in the near future. It is a highly sought-after area of our city, and there's a lot of potential development going on there right now.
Okay, and just the reason I just,
May I comment to that real quick? I don't mean to interrupt you.
you may actually, because you're standing here was the reason I wanted to ask that now instead of when we get to the actual new business portion.
And certainly the hope is to move forward with the master development in the future. But the location of the pumps is in relation to property that's not inside the city limits. Now, do we have common ownership? Sure. What's going to happen with that property? I don't have any sense that that owner has any idea where that's going. So while we can look at the area that's inside the city and forecast that there's hopes for things in the near future, we can't speak to the rest of it.
Right.
So,
I just wanted to see if there was an option.
Sure.
Okay.
sure.
Thank you so much for coming in. We're gonna, go ahead.
May I finish with just a couple of thoughts?
Yes, sir.
And
Please.
I stand here, I'm not mute to what any of you as council members have said, and I know that Mr. Moore is not. And I appreciate genuinely what you guys are looking to do in protecting your community from sprawl, from Gwinettism, whatever we want to refer to it as. I would suggest that that's not what we're presenting to you as anything that comes close to impacting you in that way. And you did mention, Mr. Bradley, we're squabbling over a few feet. I would ask you to consider that if Quick Trip thought those few feet could be conceded, they would have given in already.
As Mr. Callender mentioned, we did make quite a few changes to the plans from the Planning Commission to this point because we had to go back to the drawing board entirely. We went to our seller to go ahead and discuss the property boundaries because the ones that we had before wouldn't accommodate this plan. And we went ahead and rolled things back up through our executive members just to go ahead and make sure that they were okay with doing something that wasn't initially approved. So we made a lot of changes and concessions in order to get to this point. And the few areas that we weren't able to accommodate the city's ordinances or requests were literally based off of our concerns for the safety of the customers on the lot.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you coming in, and let me tell you, I don't think there's one of us up here who wouldn't love to have a QT right there. So thank you for coming in. And we're gonna go to the public comment unless Mr. Purvis would like to say something.
Guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for everything you do here, and I'm just sort of at a loss. I mean, I've been working on this for 5+ years. It's extremely hard to get a company like QT to come to town. I respect your code. I think it's fantastic, long range for the city. But you guys grant variances all the time. You just did it a couple months ago for the church, 1025 Church, all sorts of like 7 variances or something. It's in the corridor overlay. Am I correct? Brad, is the church 1025 in the corridor overlay?
I didn't realize it was being addressed in the meeting. I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I think it is. It's on Spring Street. Anyway, I'm at a loss. Like, I don't know what else to do. Anyone, John, you specifically stated safety. Anyone knows if you add some width to your parking lot for cars.
And we're not gonna argue, but
I'm not arguing. Can I talk?
If you're not gonna show me proof, no.
No, hold on, no.
You're asking me the question.
John.
I'm gonna tell you the answer.
If you have more room to come in and out of a parking lot, it's safer.
There's no proof, Nathan. I'm sorry. There's just not. You ask more questions or give more comments, but
I'm just talking. I mean, I haven't done this yet. I've refrained from this. I just want you to know where I stand, and it's become nearly impossible to get anything done. And QT is the best in the business. They've been in the business for a long time, and we are literally telling them exactly how they should design their store. They moved their pumps. The big thing was the pumps in the front. They moved them. They're just a little bit off, and we do this all the time, and I don't understand the motivation. It's going to be the best-looking building anywhere in that area of our city, and I mean, you say you support them, Greg, but I mean, if you supported them, you would work with them a little bit, just a little bit. You know, we're not asking for anything crazy. I just don't know what else to say.
Thank you, Mr. Purvis. We'll open this meeting for the purpose of public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the conditional use as noted? Did I see a? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against? Conditional use is noted.
Mr. Mayor, while she's on her way up, can I ask Mr. Calendar a question?
Yes, sir.
Could we put it back to the proposed plan that QT has put forth while she's speaking? Thank you.
How are you?
Great. Good evening, City Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. We, the Green Acres community, has some serious concerns
And ma'am,
about
I'm
Quick
sorry to
Trip.
interrupt you. Your name, please?
Lisa Pascal. I thought you remembered me from the last time.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa.
We, the Green Acres community, have some serious concerns about Quick Trip planning their store bordering our subdivision. Green Acres was developed in 1968 with no stormwater regulations and has no platted drainage easement, so there is no adequate draining system or infrastructure in place to handle any stormwater runoff from Quick Trip, a 6,445 square foot proposed structure. We struggle now keeping up with heavy downpours and constantly contending with wet soil and erosion. We do not have storm drains, storm channels, nor catch basins like the newer neighborhoods. To date, Quick Trip hasn't met with any of us to hear our concerns as other gas stations that come to our county have done in an effort to work with the people that will be directly impacted. The stormwater facility that they are posing is directly adjacent to my street on the north side. Our planning and zoning stated that the stormwater location concern still hasn't been addressed. How can a huge company planning to build a $750,000 gas station not have a plan for stormwater management that aligns with the city's guidelines and CDO district and protects the people whose houses are extremely close to this project? Who is going to oversee the stormwater management? Will it be abandoned like other neighborhoods that I've heard about in Monroe? More importantly, the stormwater could damage and even flood our homes. Flooding would cause undue catastrophic financial hardship. We do not carry flood insurance because we aren't in a flood zone. So who would pay for the loss of our homes? Are we to believe that Quick Trip will? We have safety concerns with being able to get in and out of the neighborhood now that there's a projected 27,400 trips daily on Georgia Highway 11. This is likely to cause an escalation in car accidents, especially with the high school being so close. It already takes us upwards of 10 to 15 minutes just to get out of the neighborhood and onto the highway. Quick Trip stated that their presence would not negatively impact traffic. Well, we've had to survive it every single day, so nobody would know this better than us as to how we would be impacted. Additionally, in my research, Johns Hopkins University School of Public Health states that a typical gas station has over 396.3 gallons of spillage that seeps into the concrete, causing an adverse effect on the soil and the water system, and the vaporized fuel carries toxic carcinogenics. We just want a quality of life. We just want to be able to live in peace and to be able to enjoy our homes that we plan to retire in. I'm 60 years old. I don't plan on moving. I've only been there 7 years. As I told you the last time, my first home since my being a widow, my husband died, and we're not going to cry again today. Who wants to go to their backyard and see all the trees cut down, a detention pond 25 feet away from my property line? This big glob that you showed on the screen for the detention pond that they're talking about goes right behind my house, Miss Clara's house, Miss Ora's house, 5 houses on that street. Please note that there are 3 autistic children on this one street alone, Louise Drive. Autistic children are drawn to water. We just want it so that our children are safe, that we are free from distress, fear, and worry. We welcome progress and growth in Monroe, but not at our expense, not at the expense of my beloved Green Acres. For these reasons, we respectfully ask you to decline the request from Quick Trip and that they find a more suitable place to build, not backing up to our neighborhood. I pray that each one of you will put yourselves in our shoes and consider the threat that Quick Trip brings to us losing our homes. That's real. I'm not talking. That's real. Flooding is real. I've got some pictures on my phone that I wanted to be able to do this fancy thing that you did on the screen there and show you all how bad it is when it rains there. We don't have the catch basins like your nice neighborhoods. We're an old-timey neighborhood. So what is to become of us? I cannot sit idly by and not say anything. So I stand today to represent this neighborhood, and I pray that each of you make a wise decision concerning your citizens. Although we are considered the county, we're still your people. We're still your citizens. What an awesome privilege you have all been given to change the lives of others for the better. I bless you all in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Ms. Becker. I will do better next time, I promise. I appreciate your coming in. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak against, or if anybody that came in and who'd like to speak in favor of the presentation as provided by Mr. Callender? Hearing none, I'll declare this portion of the meeting closed, and we'll move to rezone number 4689, 120, 130, 140 Blaine Street, and 121 and 131 North Hammond Drive. Mr. Callender.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rezone request for a PCD amendment. This is a mixed-use redevelopment of a vacant shopping center. You should be well aware of it. We own the property. So this was a property we rezoned back in 2021. Our current police department's located there. And this is the old shopping center there that had a grocery store in it that had closed some number of years ago, and it has a vast parking lot out front. But this was a site plan we'd approved in our 2021 rezone plan. This is what's proposed before you now. This is actually what was done in 2021, I'm sorry. This is our old plan. It showed the old building, basically, along with our police department there on the north side of the building. So I say the north side, this is the upper part of the plan here. It's our existing police station and an adjoining auxiliary building to that, and the existing commercial building to the south side of that, the L-shaped building. And then to the south of that, we proposed townhomes and a mixture of commercial buildings with a few mixed-use buildings there. So what's being proposed to you now is a slight modification to that. Now, what's being done here is a through street. We're going to extend Edward Street to through the site, which would go right through basically one of the existing units of the commercial building there. That would be taken down. And what's being proposed is to change what's proposed for the existing commercial building itself. So to get in those specifics, what is being requested for you now in this amendment is to amend basically sub-area 3, this little area in green on the screen before you. They're asking to turn that into residential. Before it was all commercial. It was really not specific to any minimal dimensions or anything like that. It was going to be all commercial rehab for the existing building. Well, the applicant's requesting to turn that into residential and commercial. So the little corner area down here will remain as a commercial mixed-use type building. It will be for different commercial spaces, but the applicant's actually asking to turn the bulk of the building itself into residential spaces. This would be units that would range from 500 to 2,500 square feet. And those units could range from anywhere from 14 to 28 spaces, unit spaces, excuse me. So they're asking for some flexibility there to convert that into a mixed-use building. Staff supports that. There are no changes to the rest of the development. So the pink and the yellow you see on the plan, and obviously the police station area here, there are no changes to that part of the plan at this time. So you can see here the preferred architectural elements here are basically what's in the current plan now. We're going to stay away from basically the old traditional things you see in suburbia. We'll stay away from everywhere in America, but the elements that we've included in our plan now are in there. So the applicant, in this case, the applicant that is engaged with the city to develop and rehab that building has identified that that building cannot support 100% commercial rehab. So the introduction to residential and flex space inside the building makes it viable. And some of the styles in there could be flex, so they could go residential or commercial, and that will provide some flexibility in the building. We do support the amended plan. Planning Commission also recommended approval of that. There are no conditions to recommend. It's just basically an amendment to the plan as presented to the city council tonight. So that's all that I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Brad. Are there any questions for Mr. Callender?
Brad, as that plan sits, is that the residential aspect developed inside of the existing building?
It would be within the walls of the existing building, yes, sir. And they're going to make some modifications to the building itself, do some atrium opening of the walls and things like that. I think the applicant can explain that more.
That sounds great. I see the applicant in the back. Chad, did you want to say anything?
My name is Chad Draper with the Eulalia Group. Thank you guys for listening to our proposal tonight. I will let Liz Swift with Smith Planning Group do the talking, and any questions that you have, I'm be happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Liz.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for being.
I'm sorry, your last name?
Swift, SWIFT,
Thank you.
like Taylor. Thank you all for being here this evening. I really appreciate you guys giving your time away from your friends and family to be here. As Chad stated, Brad, am I able to flip?
I queued up for you. There you go. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a remote. I'm hiding one of the remotes. Here you go. I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. I would like to agree with the previous applicant that Brad has been incredibly communicative and super helpful throughout this entire process. It's been a joy to work with him and all of the staff at the planning department. We are going to be looking at, as Brad so well explained, where the current police department is and the municipal court. I'm sure all of you have driven past this maybe once today, even. And there is that vacant strip mall that's kind of right next to the municipal court. So today we're only looking at the area within the red dashed lines that is going to be referred to as sub-area 3. That is the reuse of the existing building. So the strip mall in itself and what we convert it into is what we're looking at today. We're specifically asking for revisions to include revised permitted uses, site design, and architectural design. The architectural design will lend itself more to residential or commercial space, such as the flex units that Brad referred to, an extension of Edwards Street through to Hammond Drive, and we're still going to keep a commercial component of retail, restaurant, commercial down in the Page South end within that red dash box to allow for any larger commercial use that wanted to come through. So on the left here, we have the approved site plan that was previously included in with the planned commercial development. And then on the right, we have the proposed amended plan that has 14 to 28 units and 10,000 to 15,000 square foot retail and commercial space. And with that, we will be consequently asking for permitted uses within sub-area 3 to coincide with residential use. So that's allowing apartment-style dwellings, apartments, or apartment buildings, apartment houses, lofts, flats, flex units, townhomes. And as it stands, the current plan that is approved does not allow any residential use within sub-area 3. Okay, we'll go with this slide. So sub-area 3, so these are the amended development controls that would go along with it under this cascade of changes, where we would go from 500 to 2,500 square feet for tenant or for tenant size to make it more of an apartment loft style size. We're going to keep the commercial somewhere into 10,000 to 15,000 square feet, as well as 14 to 28 units, up minimum to total for residential use. And most of the site plan controls are going to remain the same. The only changes are increased sidewalk connectivity and an extension of Edwards Street to Hammond Drive. And this is all from the previous approved plan with the updated site model to show what the shopping center could look like as a residential use. And an overall view. And in keeping with the character-based code, we are looking at more preferred styles versus discouraged styles, and we are working closely with Brad on maintaining the preferences of the city of Monroe and the precedents that y'all have set for your city. And here in the my upper right-hand corner, there's a section of what the Edwards Street extension could look like. Of course, this is subject to what we find when we punch through the building. I can't tell you, and no, we were not gonna know until we do it. And that's all I have. Let me flip back to, there we go.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Do any of you have any questions for Liz or Chad?
Looks great.
I do have one question on the maybe commercial building. It's going to be 10 to 15,000 square feet as far as ample parking. That's a pretty big building for commercial building, depending on what it is. I understand that, but do we know if it's got an ample parking for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is that it? Thank y'all so much for being here.
Thank you.
I'll declare this portion of the meeting open for the purpose of public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of the rezone number 4689 at Blaine Station? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the rezone number 4689 at Blaine Station? Hearing none, I'll declare that portion of the meeting closed. We'll be back to revisit in just a minute. Moving to new business, and this is for council discussion only. Mr. Calendar, you've discussed conditional use 4451. That was all of the points, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the hardship variance, we will vote separately for that.
Yes, sir.
Conditional use 4451 at 1110 North Broad Street regarding easy for me to say, Quick Trip. Do I have any comments or questions for Mr. Calendar?
So on the conditional use, we're looking at the setbacks changing. Is that, or is that the hardship there?
The setback changes, is that what you said, ma'am?
Yes.
Yeah, the first two conditions deal with basically the pumps and the building itself.
And the width from the right-of-way,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's included in this conditional use?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Would you like to discuss each conditional use separately, or would you like to do it as one fell swoop?
I think I'd like to.
I think in fairness
Yeah, let's
to-
look at those conditions.
to the
make sure we got
applicant,
them
we
all in
should
there.
discuss individually.
I'm great. That's perfect to me. Could you pull up those conditional uses, please, Mr. Calendar?
So one deals with the building, second deals with the pavement width, the third deals with the pumps. Then number 4 deals with revising the plan for the CDO for the planning commission. Number 5 deals specifically with your stormwater pond with the 3 options to master plan, to move it away from the neighboring property and to place that outflow away from that neighboring property into the North Broad Street. There is no alternative to put it into the neighboring property. They have to put it into Broad Street. And then obviously putting the stormwater on their site specifically and only. And then, there's the pond. And then 6 deals with their special exception variance options for their parking because they have exceeded the parking requirement that's on their plan. They're allowed that option at the site development stage. And then 7 requires full compliance.
Yeah, let me just jump in here and make sure that everybody's clear is that there is a conditional use application in front of you, and Brad, speak up if I'm going to say this wrong. There's a conditional use application in front of you to approve or deny the conditional use for the gas station itself, basically, right?
The accessory
With
fuel pumps, yes.
with proffered conditions from staff. So if there's a motion, it would be a motion to approve the conditional use or to deny the conditional use, either with or without some or all of these proffered conditions, or conditions that you come up with on your own, or conditions that have been presented by the applicant. I just want to make sure that's what's the action item before you, is a conditional use to allow essentially the gas station with the canopy and the pumps on this site. And then it's the issue of what conditions go with that conditional use.
And that's correct. And
Need to be included in the motion if.
Correct.
it's Altered from.
Correct. It could certainly be a motion to approve the conditional use with the staff stated conditions. Of course, I know one of those conditions I think has some options, so I just want to make sure that whatever motion is made, it's clear that it's a conditional use, either approval or denial, and then with conditions, and those conditions can be those proffered by staff or your own, or those proffered by the applicant.
Right, I did want to mention that the conditions, the first three conditions specifically, because they deal with, number 3 deals with the variance that you're considering, and we're asking that they be complied with. The first 2 conditions, they're required to have variances of their own. The applicant has asked you to basically consider them inside the conditional use application. Procedurally, they would have to ask for those in a separate hardship variance, and they have not. So we have placed the 2 conditions on this plan that it comply. So if you were to grant relief from those 2 items, they would have to ask you for hardship variances and prove the hardships for those 2 items as well, and they have not. Procedurally, in their conditional use application, this was added in this amendment, was to basically grant, the 75-foot was to give an interpretation that 76-foot be allowed. That requires a hardship variance. And the second one for the 42 pavement depth, as you've heard tonight, was the reasons their corporate internal discussion, it still requires a hardship variance to be approved by this council. Both 1 and 2 would require a hardship variance, just like the fuel pumps in number 3 require a hardship variance. They all are separate hardship variances. So procedurally, well, we're conditioning the plan into compliance with 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the only one they've asked for a hardship variance on. Not to be confusing to city council, but if 1, 2, and 3 were approved, then there's no issue with compliance on their plan. But those are required for their plan to comply unless they get the other hardship variances approved.
The long and short of it is that if we ask for approval of the conditional uses, this is what staff is recommending to council.
7 conditions, yes.
Correct?
That's correct.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I'm ready to make a motion.
1 second. Do you have any other questions about specific conditional use points? No. Yes, sir, Mr. Dixon.
All right, so let me preface it by saying, I think we've beaten this thing to death over several months, and to my thinking, it's a pretty simple situation. So, I think if those 7 conditions are included, I think that takes care of the concerns expressed by the folks in Green Acres. And as I told Ms. Pascal, if they don't do that stormwater right and in compliance with our regulations, you got yourself a wonderful lawsuit against a multi-billion-dollar company. I don't think Quick Trip wants that, so I think they will do it right. So, my motion is to grant the conditional use with the 7 conditions as stated by staff.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. I have a motion to approve the conditional use as noted with the 7 conditions. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion- You oppose? Motion carries with 1 in opposition. Sorry, Ms. Crawford.
And Adrian.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Moving to the hardship variance number 4502, 1110 North Broad Street, Quick Trip. Mr. Calendar?
Nothing else to offer on that one.
Okay, do I have?
I'm prepared to make a motion on that.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, we beat it to death. I met with these folks. I told them, you know, my position is you have to meet our requirements, or you don't build it. So I move to deny the hardship variance.
I have a motion to deny by Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes unanimously. Moving to rezone 4689 Blaine Station, 120, 130, 140 Blaine Street, and 121 and 131 North Hammond Drive. Mr. Calendar, we've already discussed it, but does anybody have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion, please. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll give that one to Mr. Bradley. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Next is the amendment to the agreement for probation and pretrial diversion supervision fees. Mr. Rosenthal.
I'll be happy to answer any questions. This is a technicality. It comes before y'all. It also has to be approved by your municipal court judge, Judge Samuels. This is a request from Southeast Corrections, who's been our probation servicer for quite a long time. This is no money to the city. These fees are paid by the probationers themselves. I believe the request is going from $42 a month to $45 a month. And that is a request that is contained in a letter from the president, Mr. Prescott, I think that he sent to the mayor a couple of months ago. And they they provide services in a lot of cities, and they've gone around to all of the cities and counties and made this similar request of a move from 42 to 45, just, I believe, from cost increase. But I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Are there any questions for Paul?
This is just an update from 3 years ago, 2023.
So from 42 to 45? Yes. It's not very inflationary. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Airport obstruction removal scope of services fee request. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, sir. This is a request for the approval of GMC's submitted scope of services fee for the obstruction removal at the airport that is off property. We have managed to, with a combination of in-house and some contractor services, thank you, Mr. Croy, for all of the work taking care of everything on our property. But this will take care of that $150,582 is primarily easement services and surveys that'll have to take place on the various properties that are off our property that affect the airport to remove obstructions. So that's the request before you.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions for Chris? I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Application for the consumption of on-premise licenses for beer, wine, and distilled spirits for Friends Monroe Grill LLC. Mr. Rosenthal, are we in order?
Yes, that application is in order, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Is the applicant here? I saw him earlier. We're so excited you're coming. Anything you want to say? That's what we like to hear. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley, and I think I heard a second. Greg?
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the consumption of on-premise licenses for beer, wine, and distilled spirits at Johnny's Pizza. Do I have anyone here from Johnny's? We're so excited y'all are here. Anything you would like to say? We're excited to be here. Great. Just a great brand, and we're excited to actually have both of you. Are there any questions? Mr. Rosenthal, is that in order?
Application's in order, Mayor.
That's probably the one I should have asked first. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, I'm sorry?
No, no.
Okay. Motion carries, that passes. CDBG grant writing and administrative and related grant services, Blaine Station project, Mr. Bailey.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from this. However, if there are any questions that I need to answer for staff, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Okay. Well, you already read the long part of it. So, yeah, this is a request. We've discussed this at several times, going over we had put out the CDBG grant writing, administrative and related grant services, RFQP back in March, closed early May for the Blaine Station project in relation to an innovative grant through our Community Development Block Grant Program. We had 11 submissions come back. Staff reviewed those, graded them, scored them accordingly with DCA rules in mind. And the recommendation from staff is to select separate grant writing firms for each of the components. The recommendation is to select Carter and Sloop Consulting Engineers for the infrastructure improvements related to water and sewer, and then the selection of Gilbert and Associates for the housing components. Be glad to take any questions. I did want to point out that I think the initial approach to this is to allow for these grant firms to engage DCA, to work through the process to figure out where the expenses are, who's responsible, what the grant itself can actually be, the amount, all of that. And from my understanding and speaking with them, we're not going to get to that point unless we actually put grant writers in place.
And the cost is, my computer,
Well, the cost of each that were proposed added up would be $21,000 for those grant services up front. And then, and Mr. Gregory can help me on this, the actual max that would be expense, depending on what the grant is awarded, would be up to 7% because it's a multiple activity grant that we're applying for, but it also caps at $90,000. So it would be 180, I believe, for the two firms total, because there's two different components. So it would be 90 on the housing component, it would be 90 on the infrastructure, would be your max
the
spend.
city would be obligating ourselves to.
We would be, I think, obligated potentially on the front end, but the concept was the grant firms would then engage with DCA to determine if there can be amendments to contracts for reimbursement to the city through the project. But that's an answer that we don't have, and I don't think we will have until they get the grant itself worked out through DCA, Northeast Georgia Regional Commission, possibly, and work through that process. So this would simply allow us to select the firms, as we discussed, to then proceed and open conversation with DCA.
And in that open conversation with DCA, what level of confidence do we have that the $21,000 of this initial money spend would answer those questions that we've been asking?
Well, essentially, it would have to, because that was what the bids were submitted as.
Yeah, but I guess.
That's their fee for that upfront application process to apply towards everything.
So at what point do they get to go over the 21,000 not to exceed the 180?
Your motion here would be only to select them as the grant writers. So all you're doing is selecting them as grant writers at a stated fee of the 21,000 total. That's it.
It would be essentially not to exceed that portion of it, because that's the application process that they would go through, not to exceed that.
They wouldn't get, I'll shorten this up. They wouldn't get any more money unless the grant was awarded, because the remainder of their fee is a percentage of the grant award.
Correct.
It's 21,000 front end, and then if they get the grant, then they're paid essentially out of the grant.
Okay.
So it would have to come back to you before y'all spend any more money.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions for Chris or Paul?
And that's what I would say, that if you select the grants, the grant firms, we go through this process, we get additional answers before the rest, then we would approve. I mean, it would just be like we select Keckenwood for the TAP project outside. Then we go through the process of the initial, like you approve the construction bids once they come back in. So it would be a multi-phased process of approvals.
I just know that one of the biggest hangups in this whole process is who's paying for what and when and how, and I just want to make sure that
Correct.
could, with high confidence, be addressed.
Yeah, that's what we would figure out on the front end to then address it before anything.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve it. I have a little concern about that because if we're gonna do this, we really gotta figure out how the city ends up not paying anything for it.
Amen.
So, but this initial amount, I would be willing to put that at risk, so to speak, because the project, I think, is just very important to this community. We need affordable housing, and that's what it's about. So I will make the motion to approve the 21,000.
So you're seconding the 21,000?
Those two firms.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve and a second by Mr. Bradley to accept Carter and Sloop and Gilbert and Associates as the grant writers for grant writing, administrative, and related grant services for the Blaine Station project. Is there any discussion?
I just want to say that I will vote to proceed with this step, but I will not vote to incur hundreds of thousands of dollars from the city to support this project. And I just want to be transparent from the start. I will not.
I agree with Ms. Malcolm. I still think personally $21,000 of taxpayer dollars is a lot of money to spend to just get some answers that we've been trying to get from DCA for months now. But I will vote for this, but I will not vote to spend any more taxpayer dollars on it.
I agree, ladies and gentlemen. Are there any other questions, comments, discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the TAP Supplemental Agreement, Transportation Alternative Program, Supplemental Agreement 0019857, Mr. Bailey.
And you're making the work a little bit easier on me. So in simple terms, this is a supplemental agreement required by the state. And the project number that they read is the McDaniel Street TAP project that goes from Childers Park to the city limits, which is just shy of Michael Etchison Drive. The overage for the project was $33,511, of which we are only responsible for 20%. That's what this agreement would be, that the state would be responsible for 80% of that expense, and our responsibility would be 20%, which is $6,702.20, but requires council approval.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions for Chris? I'll entertain a motion, please.
Make that motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second?
Second.
Voting to Mr. Bradley, if you don't mind. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Move into TAP Project Supplemental Agreement number 2, 0019856. Mr. Bailey, anything?
Thank you again. Similar request, different project for the state. It is, the particular project is Davis Street, South Madison Avenue to Mears Street. The primary overage on this particular project is in relation to the railroad and the hotel site, because there's a lot more to work around, a lot of different things that have to be in play. Moving with it. The overage was from the engineers over this process that started back in early 25, January, is $156,897.76, of which, once again, the city is eligible for an 80-20 split. Our 20% would be for $31,379.55, with the state covering the remainder of that portion.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions for Chris? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Procurement policy update, Mr. Bailey.
Okay, last one from me. This is similar to the update that we did in December of '25 to adjust the state limits that were set at the time for the thresholds of sealed bids, whatnot, for public works construction projects. This is at the federal level and their amendments to their limits that we had discussed at a previous meeting. So they adjusted their micro purchasing threshold of $15,000 or below. Small purchase procedures, which is $15,001 to $349,999. And then the formal bid and proposals is anything of $350,000 or above. The times that we would run up against this would be if we are using federal funds, grants such as that. We're using money that's coming from the federal government. I know the Department of Energy grant that we're currently working with would fall under those guidelines. Well, the ones that actually we have right now fall under the old guidelines, which were at $250,000. Any future ones would fall under the guidelines of that $350,000 threshold. So it's essentially just updating our policy to mimic the federal procurement policy in those terms if we use federal dollars.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions, any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes.
Thank you.
Moving to the RF system decommission request. Mike.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you tonight is request to finally shut down and terminate our existing RF plant. To my knowledge, the RF plant was last refreshed back in 1996. So you're talking a long time to have cable plant that's up. It's breaking down, it's getting harder to maintain, and as current as this last report, there's only 10% left of our entire customer base is left on cable modems. A large majority of those are people who have we've made multiple attempts to contact them, we've gone to their houses, and they've either not shown up or said, hey, we have to reschedule, and they never call us back. Fiber's available everywhere now where our RF plant is. There's no reason anymore for anybody not to switch over. So I would like to go ahead and actually terminate and shut down the plant on January 4th. We will heavily advertise this. We will make sure everybody is fully aware of this. It gives us a good solid 5 months to really get cracking and trying to get everybody changed over. But it's just becoming more hassle to manage for the small remainder amount of customers that are on it than it's really worth the investment to do.
So when it shuts down on the 4th, are we going to be full tilt till the 7th when the national championship football game is? Are there any questions for Mike?
It's time. It's
I'll-
past time.
Yes,
It
ma'am.
is,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Thank you for staying on that, Mike. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes.
Thank you.
Moving to the resolution to request GDOT off-system roadways. Mr. Probst, this is exciting.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got before you a pretty detailed resolution that I did here to pose the question to the Georgia Department of Transportation to make State Routes 11 and 10 business here in town off-system. And what that means is local streets. It's a tall ask of our streets departments. We're going to have to think long-term and strategically about how all this is going to be maintained, right? But this is something we've talked about for years and years and years in conjunction with the current bypass and the planning of the subsequent northern arc of the bypass. So what I've got here is a resolution that will authorize me to then send this question to GDOT. And by the way, I've already had fruitful discussions with the commissioner, GDOT Commissioner McMurray, and also District 1. They're pretty favorable with this. We just have to go through a pretty lengthy process just to get this done. I don't have an exact timeline on when that will happen, but no better time than to start now, okay? So what we're requesting in Section 1 is to make this off-system. Number 2 is a lane mile exchange agreement for current and future alignments. And then joint corridor condition assessment and rehabilitation punch list. That'll be in conjunction with Mr. Steele and his department. So basically what that means is we're gonna take a full assessment of all the deficiencies in the existing roadway and infrastructure and then have them fix it on the front end before we take it. And then I'm also working on a subsequent traffic signal timing operations MOU, which the state will still want to maintain the timing of all the lights and how it's coordinated through the entire, 78, 10, 11 system. And so they may still do that, and I'm also trying to push for a little bit more help on the maintenance of the lights. GDOT budget's about $5,000 per traffic signal per year in just general maintenance. That doesn't include a full replacement cost. So that's going to be yet a subsequent MOU that I'm going to ask for. And then general further negotiation. We know this may go back and forth for several months, and just allowing me to negotiate through this process. So there's a map you can kind of see as an exhibit to this resolution in your packet there, of the in red that we're going to be removing from the system. So all in all, we will control our destiny in the city of Monroe by having ownership of this. And this will also help, again, with the future northern bypass, getting that programmed.
Thank you, Logan. Are there any questions? Did we take Church Street off of?
Yeah, that was off system some time ago from
Hammond?
a little bit further out, but basically Unicia Drive on in. So city limits to us is what we control, and the county controls out to Unicia Drive.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that you, Ross?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the intersection improvement at Woodland and McDaniel. Mr. Still.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, this can be a proposal or discussion or however you see fit, but the red light at that intersection right there is only one of two that we currently maintain. It is very outdated. Within the last 2 weeks, we've had 4 service calls out there with it either being reset or having to need parts which are outdated, that you can't find them. We have to bring in a contractor that does the work on that control panel. So the control panel roughly would cost 60 grand thereabout to replace. And if we do that, according to some of our regulations with updating the intersection, there would be a full intersection upgrade with pedestrian crossings, different lightings for that. I don't have any idea what that cost. My suggestion is to kind of piggyback what we've done on some of the other signalized intersections, is leave a red flashing light at the top, convert that to a 3-way stop. I think in the years past, the issue had been people coming off of Woodland with a sight distance, where that was a single stop and McDaniel didn't stop at that time, creating an issue. But if McDaniel stops on both sides, there's plenty of room for sight distance to not be an issue, and convert that to a 3-way stop. And you're looking at $200 of maintenance versus at least 60 plus whatever the rest of the intersection improvement cost. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Are there any questions? This is coming out between the Titchener House and the Williams at that traffic light. We've moved the light to 3-way and 4-way stops at Madison, in Church, and on Breedlove and McDaniel.
What about, can we put some rivets on Woodland as you're coming down that hill?
Sure.
also, that does go sidewalk to sidewalk right there. Could we do a crosswalk? Could you study that?
We can look at it.
I'd appreciate it. Are there any additional questions for Jeremiah? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second? You motion? That's all right. Thank you, Ms. Crawford. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to impact fees, CIE Annual Financial Report and Updated Schedule of Improvements. Adopt resolution to transmit annual update for review to DCA. Mr. Calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a routine procedure that you have to do now with your impact fees annually. We have to update our schedule of improvements that the affected departments that the impact fees are collected for. Have to send those to DCA and the NEGRC for review and approval. So tonight, the council has to basically approve the transmittal of that updated schedule and the report that Beth has to prepare each year. So we send that to the NEGRC for their review and approval, and council has to approve that transmission.
Thank you, Mr. Calendar. Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Are there any questions for Brad or Beth? Is there anyone here from the public who would like to speak for or against this transmittal? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the 2027 utility rate increase, Mr. Probst or Ms. Thompson.
I'll go ahead and take that, Mayor. So, as I alluded to in my report earlier in the evening, we're working on the bond financing of the wastewater treatment plant. And as such, we want to make sure we have appropriate rate coverages when we get rated by the rating agencies going into this bond. And one of the things that signals good stewardship of funds is the ability to make sure that the projected debt service can be covered right off the bat, right? And so we've been spending a lot of money on a whole lot of fantastic infrastructure projects. So that has dwindled down our capital reserves. And so what we want to be able to do is signal, hey, we're going to be able to recoup this. And what I don't want to do is have to recoup it later on once the debt service starts hitting us and we have to raise rates even more. So what I want to do is get a good rating on this issuance that will help us to pay less on overall debt service. So this is, the lesser of two evils, and what we're proposing is on January 1st, 2027, for it to take effect. It'll be a 3% increase to residential sewer base fee and a 7.5% increase to the commercial and industrial water fee, of which the sewer's calculated on. So, all that's to say, it's just a very slight increase to our rates, but I think it'll carry a lot of lift on our forthcoming rating.
On the residential side, it's 3% to sewer only.
Yes.
Okay. Not
Yes.
water usage.
Right. So we don't have that separation between water and sewer on the commercial and industrial. Gotcha. So that's why we have to put it onto that water piece.
Thank you, Logan. Are there any questions for Logan or Beth? I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion?
I did want to note too, the pricing that Beth had put in here. If you have a 1-inch or smaller meter, it's about $1.78 per month increase, and then that's inside the city. Outside the city, it'd be about $2.06 per month.
Thank you, Logan. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Moving to the ordinance to amend Chapter 18, Building Regulations. Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just a cleanup to get one section of your Code of Ordinances just to comply with some law change that occurred a couple years ago regarding appeals. So all we are is just changing a code section reference in your nuisance housing and how decisions about that are appealed. So we just ask for your consideration and approval of this ordinance change to amend Chapter 18, Building Regulations.
Mr. Great, thank you, Paul. Are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to district items, Ms. Malcolm.
No, I don't think I have anything, other than I'd like to make they've gone. I wanted to make a request to the new Johnny's Pizza owners about the blackout windows. Ask them to take it down, but, no, I don't have any.
I'll run into them, I'll mention it. Myosha.
No, I don't have anything.
Thank you, Ross.
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Julie Sams.
Yes, I want to say thank you to Chief Watts. I've had compliments from several business owners downtown. They're loving seeing the officers downtown more often.
Thank you, Julie. Adrian, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Anything for,
I will save them for next month.
all right, thank you. Mr. Gregory.
Same props to the chief. Also, I'd like to say thanks to Jeremiah, to Logan, to Chris for the paving. That was a while back that we brought up. Some of my folks in the district brought up some of their roads. It had been part of the plan. It's being executed. They've reached out to me to say thanks, and I want to relay that thanks to you. Thank you guys very much for jumping on that, getting that all taken care of. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tyler. Mr. Thompson.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
David Dickinson.
Nothing further.
All right, I don't have a ton, but I did want to go over America's 250. We talked about last month was great. The downtown shopping event on August 1st. If you're not downtown on Saturdays, try to make an effort to just drive through and see the numbers. It's amazing. And the Kinchifuni concert Friday night, they sold more tables than we've ever sold. They always bring a big crowd from Athens. They were fantastic. Jeremiah, thank you for hitting both areas on Church Street that were requested last week by the folks over at Amici. And the other thing, economic development projects that we have coming generally through the Development Authority, have the opportunity to sit in on that. And generally, we don't, make everything public till all the Ts are crossed and Is are dotted. But I do want to let you know that MGM, who signed with us with a $42 million project just a few months ago, has decided to move forward with their building. So they're talking with Brad and our whole team, and apparently that meeting has just gone really, really well. And I think we're going to have another announcement coming up in the next few weeks. We have some people sniffing around, so keep your eyes open. I'll try to let all of you know as soon as I know something official. That being said, I need a motion to adjourn to executive session, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Meeting adjourned.